AI, in the travel, here we go. Got that AI on the low, taking flights to and fro, booking trips in a snap with a simple chatbot flow. AI, revolutionizing how we roll. Gonna hop on a plane.
Welcome to another episode of the Everything AI in Travel podcast, where we hear from the makers, shapers, and buyers of AI technology in the travel space. Here's your host, Tony Khan.
Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of the Everything AI in Travel podcast. And today we're going to chat to one of the few companies actually that's been able to raise some money in the new AI world. The company is called Odynn. They're out of New York in the States. And I've got the founder with me, John Taylor Garner. How are you going today, John?
Doing well, thank you. I'm excited to be here.
Brilliant. So we want to talk a little bit about the raise in a moment, but first it's good just to get to know a little bit about who you are and how you've ended up in this position in the first place. I've had a bit of a scope on your LinkedIn and checked out your background, and it looks like you came through the Merrill Lynch path and then founded a thing called, I think it was Curator or something similar to that, which seems very similar to what Odynn is up to. So maybe if you could run us through kind of your progression from like your early days in investment banking and then how you ended up founding something that's similar to what you're doing now.
Yeah, for sure. When I was back at Merrill, I was a volatility trader. So I ran the International Macro Process of Volatility book, which is a mouthful. It just means I traded everything, basically. I ran that book for about 6 years or so, and we were on the index desk, which meant we traded everything that was macro. So that the major indices that everyone knows, like the S&P 500 and Dow Jones, NASDAQ, Russell, those are all part of the desk. So is the VIX. And then I traded everything that wasn't that, which is a lot of things. And I was there, as I said, for about 6 years. We were the number one desk in the world for what we did. It was a team of 8 or 9 people. We brought in about 350 million a year on average. So put in some pretty serious numbers. But I left at the end of 2018 to start my own thing. And that was Curator. I traveled around for a little bit first, but then in 2019 is when I dove in. And what Curator was, is it was an all-in-one super app for credit cards. You can think of it as
Oh no.
You look frozen.
Yeah, sorry, man. I'm not sure if it's my side or your side.
Sorry, where did I lose you?
Just start again at we were kind of super app, and I'll just edit it back in.
Okay. So Curator was the super app, all one fully automated system that told users how to optimize their credit cards, where to spend, which cards to spend on, which ones to apply for. Is like an automated version of the Points Guy or Nerd Wallet, if you know those major sites. And we were the first of its kind. I built that for myself, really, because I was still am a big points and miles nerd. And my co-founders were and are as well. Same co-founders between Curator and Odynn, unsurprisingly, because we are in related spaces. That was B2C, though. Odynn, which was born from Curator, is entirely B2B. It's or B2B2C as well, but it's not a consumer application. And so we learned the hard way that marketing B2C and D2C is a unique skill set that none of us had. But that's not what caused us to shut down Curator. Ultimately, it was in the early days of COVID, and you probably remember this, when the airlines and hotels shifted from static award pricing to dynamic award pricing. And this was in like late 21. Obviously, they were starting to do this beforehand, but it like really accelerated at that moment in time. And it busted the recommendation system that Curator is based on. So we're like, this isn't going to work. So we shut that down. And then the idea for Odynn, it was born from this. Okay, we probably need to build a live and dynamic loyalty pricer. Who's going to want to buy this? Probably all of the banks that are issuing cards that are based on the old system. Once users figure out that there's a new system and it's not going to be good for them.
Yeah,
so
indeed.
That was the genesis of Odynn.
Yeah, for sure. I'd love to understand your mindset, particularly coming out of Merrill. Obviously, you're a really intelligent guy. You run a really successful book. Like, what made you want to go and do something by yourself? And then what did that journey look like? And was it always travel, or did you look at a dozen different things and just end up in Card Curator, or what was that kind of journey like?
So I wasn't looking around or trying to figure out what I wanted to do. This was why I left Merrill in effect. I wasn't 100% certain that I was going to do it. I was either going to start this or try to maybe go work somewhere else, maybe go to the buy side, get out of the bureaucracy of banking entirely. So that I had fully decided on. Ultimately, obviously, I had to decide on starting my own company, but it wasn't like I had a million ideas or floating around and I didn't know what to pick or start with. This was something that I've been deeply passionate about for a long, long time. I've inadvertently been playing the points and miles game since I was a young kid because I grew up in London, lived in Singapore for a little bit, been flying since before I can remember. So love planes, love traveling. It's just been part of my DNA, if you will. And so starting a startup that was in the travel and loyalty space felt very natural. And the first product card here was literally for myself and my friends. That's why I was building it. I figured there were a lot of people like me that would benefit from that. But the decision to move into that from being a trader was not easy. I definitely, when I left Merrill, it's because I knew I didn't want to be there anymore. It was the bureaucracy was too much. I had gone through, I think it was like 12 or 13, maybe even 14 managers over the 6 years I had. I had 5 or 6 bosses. The turnover, which is insane, which is normal for volatility trading. Like it is super high,
Yeah.
but it's just crazy. I'm like, I've had enough of this. Like I need to go somewhere else. So we left on good terms and everything, but I knew I just didn't want to be there anymore. And ultimately, I decided to take the plunge into entrepreneurship.
For sure. Why not? And did you, with Card Curator, did you like go through an accelerator or did you raise money on that business?
Yeah, so we went through the Wharton VFEX accelerator. So I started that in mid 2019, which wasn't too long before COVID started, as I'm sure you remember. And obviously that really threw a wrench in our plans so we had a very successful beta that came out and we're going to launch a public version and then COVID dashed that. And so I decided to go back to school. That's when went to school to get my MBA. And I went through the incubator there at Wharton and then went through the accelerator with Card Curator. And that's when we finally launched it at the beginning of 21. We had a great, I think, call it 10, 11 months until the airline shifted to dynamic loyalty pricing. So by the end of 21 is when we shut it down. And so Odynn was started in January 22 in my last semester at business school. So we had raised a little bit of funding for Card Curator, about $500,000. We had been through an accelerator, but it didn't last too long ultimately.
Yeah, for sure. But I'm sure you got so many learnings out of it because it's not a million miles away from what you're doing now. And like a lot of this stuff, particularly when you're trying to work with financial institutions, etc., like it's about relationship building. It's about knowing who the exact person in these massive corporations you need to go talk to build those relationships. And I'm sure that really helped it was almost an apprenticeship, right, for the Card Curator into what you're doing now.
You're certainly right. Not necessarily on the relationship side of things. So that came from my time at Merrill and before, and being in business school was a big help as well. But the learnings on the travel and the loyalty space for sure, like the underlying tech, how we built it was very helpful for orchestrating and building Odynn. And so that whole standpoint in navigating the travel industry, which I had not been a part of formally, obviously it's been a hobby, but I never worked in it. All those learnings were huge. But we learned that the B2B relationship selling was much more suited towards not just me, but the rest of my 2 other co-founders. Like the 3 of us were much better at that because that was where we came from. Obviously, as a trader, I was also a lot of my job was sales. I was handling a lot of the client relationship directly as well. And my 2 other co-founders had similar backgrounds. One was at PwC consulting, building large data models and LLMs before they were called LLMs. That was NLP back then. And the other one was also in sales and trading too. So we all came from major corporate backgrounds. And so building these relationships that came naturally to us, thankfully. B2C marketing we were not good at. So
It's a tough
we were
gig.
very happy to put that away.
It's a totally tough gig, yeah. And a lot of people have certainly gone down that road and probably ended up on the road that you're on as well. A lovely segue there into the AI side of things with one of your co-founders there. Obviously, this is the Everything AI in Travel podcast, and I noticed, that Odynn is positioning itself as an AI native company, and just listening to the timeframes of when you started, somewhat tricky, I think, because it sounds like you started just before generative AI, the chat GPT kind of revolution came out, which is a totally different way of building something to potentially how I think most people should be building stuff today. So kind of what was that evolution for you? Obviously you had the old school knowledge around natural language processing, etc. And I'm sure you started down that path, but what's that journey been like, and how's it changed in your business to how you build stuff today?
Yeah, that's a great question. I do wish we had started working on it 18 months later or so. Like we would have been very helpful. But yeah, so far we have to do everything the hard way, but it is what it is. That being said, we always had AI at the core of what we did from day one. So the recommendation engine for end users, so these are the card holders, on how to redeem or spend points, miles, or cash, that's all machine learning based. So that's been around for not eons, but a lot longer than Gen AI has. Our data aggregation techniques for the loyalty pricers to the loyalty wallets are all natural language processing based, which, as we just talked about, were around from before LLMs were a thing. So we were built on that day one, is how we were doing everything. Then obviously as Gen AI has evolved and gotten a lot better, we are writing a lot of essentially all of the new code that we're writing is enabled and enhanced by Gen AI. It's not fully written by it, because we found it's very good for some things and not so good for others, obviously. And in our space, it's proven quite challenging, which is ultimately a good thing, right? We still need all of our engineers. They are able to put out more output and better, more efficient output. It's great for testing and rapid prototyping and all those fun things. But the majority of our engineering work is implementation for new customers. And I'm not sure how well versed you are, but on that, judging by your sound, it sounds like you understand. Gen AI cannot implement at all. And it's never been designed for that. It's never been built for that. And if you were to try to do it, it would be a complete disaster. So it's not able to help us on that, really. Once implementation is done, it's helpful for testing and all of that. But it's certainly not replacing our engineers anytime soon. I'll put it that way.
For sure. And financial institutions are probably not that. With things that are not going to work 100% inside their own systems with integrations and that kind of stuff, it would be a very difficult, tricky area to try and negotiate that and get the buy-in there, I'd say. I just want to read, there was a post recently, I think, done by one of your investors, and it just explains Odynn a little bit more. So I just thought I'd read that out, and then maybe you could give us some more context around it. So it says Odynn is an AI fully modular infrastructure platform that helps fintechs, bank card issuers, and travel companies launch embedded travel, loyalty and rewards programs. It's a white label solution. APIs and agentic AI drive cardholder engagement while unlocking the new revenue streams. Think AI Shopify for loyalty and travel. So that kind of gives us a little bit of a picture there, but maybe dumb that down for us a little bit into what the mechanics look like inside a client of Odynn.
Yeah, sure. Basically, just to distill it down, we build travel portals for our customers. So most people who are listening to this know what travel portals are. They probably use them. If they have a Amex card or a Chase card or Capital One card or any of the other major banks that are out there, there's probably a travel portal in said bank. And they probably earn points on their cards and redeem them through that travel portal, because that's usually the best way to maximize value for those cards. So we do that. Ultimately, for everyone that's not them, we also do power a lot of major tier one banks, and we're trying to replace the antiquated technology that's powering those tier one banks. So that's mostly Expedia and Booking are the two companies that power those, which most people are not aware. Obviously, they know that the consumer end of Expedia or Booking, but if you look at the fine print or like confirmation emails that you get, if you're booking on Amex or Chase, it's going to be Expedia as the company that's doing that. If you're booking on Citi or Wells Fargo, that's going to be booking.com. Capital One's on Hopper. That's the third option really that's out there. And so we do that for, obviously it could be those big guys, but most of our customers are a little bit smaller than that. So that's going to be the tier two banks, neobanks, fintechs, larger FIs. And then we also power a number of e-commerce companies, closed user consumer groups. And we also power a couple of corporate travel management companies. Obviously, they don't need our travel portals. They have their own, but they are very interested in our loyalty solutions, which are quite complementary to business and corporate travel.
Yeah, for sure. So are you actually going out and getting your own supply? You're making those contracts with hotel groups and that kind of stuff. That's, I guess that I would say Expedia and Booking think that's a moat, right? Because it takes years to go out and build all those relationships and contracts. So is that kind of the long game for Odynn?
So we work with a number of entities. So we work with aggregators, we work with some of the OTAs. So Booking and Expedia actually supply inventory for a number of our customers through us. We also we use a lot of direct connections where we can. One of our main travel providers is Duffel, who you're probably well aware of. They're an industry leader in NDC on the airline side. And so we think that they're industry leading and the best, honestly. I'm out there for that. And so that's what we are leveraging today. We're always on the lookout for new and exciting partners. So we're always happy to expand and add into that. We're going to be adding in some new luxury hotel offerings soon. And we're going to be expanding. Car rentals will be going live soon. So there's lots of fun things in the pipes. But going, hotel by hotel, I think would be a bit challenging. And it's a little easier to do it on the airline side, but even then that's hard.
Yeah.
We had no intention on stepping in on like Duffel's Lane or anything like that. That in itself is its own entire business.
100%.
So we're very happy to let the experts do what the experts should do.
Yeah. And are you getting interest from your clients to have exclusive product that's available just through them? I think everyone's trying to look for their own edge. I think just pre-COVID, there was the experiences, not things boom. And I know MasterCard and even Amex went really hard on exclusive experiences and that kind of thing. Is that a space that you're interested in playing in or getting requests from your customers about?
Yeah, we certainly are. Obviously, the good thing about us is we are small enough where if we are offering exclusive experiences to more than one customer, it's still pretty darn exclusive, right?
Yeah.
Because we aren't powering that many big guys. If Expedia would start to offer exclusive content, then Expedia powers a lot of travel. It won't be terribly exclusive. So we have that benefit, but the main differentiating factor that we are able to offer is those personalized experiences for our customers. So could they potentially get it elsewhere? I'm sure, like if they try hard enough, but having it served up to them and delivered in such a way that is easily digestible, tailored to them, their habits, their needs, be it in our agentic chat concierge experience or in our modular hyper-personalizable travel portal, it doesn't matter. We're able to do it that way. And a lot of our customers have multiple different user groups, right? They might cater to high net worth private wealth management. They might cater to low to middle income LMI. They might cater to SMB corporate travel, whatever it is. We're able to power solutions for them and power multiple solutions for them if they are covering multiple different consumer groups or corporate business groups too. And so we can give them 2, 3, 4, a dozen different solutions tailored to each grouping. And within that, it has those different experiences and offers and exclusive things that they would be looking for. So it's more than just is it exclusive. It's like, is it delivered to them in such a way that it resonates with them on a fundamental level?
Yeah, for sure. I think the combination of kind of personalization and then can I use my points? It's pretty powerful, right? Everyone wants to get the leverage that they've, signed up for with their financial institution and use it for their own benefit. And it's often like matching those two things up that has caused the problems in the past. I'm interested more generally in your thoughts. So the US, I think, is a little bit different to the rest of the world. It's certainly different to where I am down here in Australia, where The financial institutions have played in travel for a long time. Amex is a long time player in travel, and I think everybody else has looked at that, the other big guys, and they've followed them in the US. In Australia, we have the big four banks, is what we call them. On our stock exchange, they take 4 of the top 10 spots, and they've really done like very little in travel. Like they just haven't moved in that direction. And then if I look at the UK, again, the big banks, I guess, were slow to move, and Revolut maybe came and ate their lunch a bit by building a travel forward product that was based in a financial institution. But the whole financialization of travel is as big a trend, I think, as maybe AI and social media. I think they're 3 really big trends that are flowing through travel at the moment. But what are your thoughts there? What do you see the future being, and maybe what does your expansion plans look like?
Yeah, I think you're totally right. UK and Australia are definitely well behind. As you probably seen, we've done some work with one of the big four in Australia, actually. And then I believe CMB Bank is the one that's on Hopper, though I wouldn't say it's perfectly integrated. And post Capital One's acquisition of Hopper Travel Portal, not sure how CMB is really feeling about that right now. Obviously Capital One's not a direct competitor to them, these are different markets, but still, I assume that's not an easy pill to swallow. Lloyd's obviously launched a trial partnership with Hopper as well. Again, that one's a click out, not natively integrated, but you're right. Those are just literally, I think those are all the examples of the banks that are in Australia or the UK that have travel solutions, whereas in the US, it's a good chunk of the majors. And then Canada, let's see, TD in Canada's on Expedia, RBC is on Hopper. That's another one that will be asking questions, I'm guessing. But that's also about it as well. So the US is definitely leading the pack. As to why FIs and banks are slow to be adopting, that's a darn good question. I don't have a good answer for you on that. And outside the US, you would think that they see, oh, Amex and Chase are each doing, I think probably another be doing, I think 18 billion this year in gross total dollar volume booked this year alone each. Like ginormous. If I was at a major executive bank that had a bunch of consumer cards, particularly on the higher end things, I would be pushing for travel. That seems like a great way to make money, expand your base, grow engagement, increase retention, diversify, etc. Like all those buzzwords.
All the good things. All the good things.
Yeah, all good things. Like
Yeah.
it seems like a no-brainer to me. But again, I am also the one that's now selling them those solutions. I am biased, clearly, but we are live in the US, Canada, UK, EU, UAE, India, and Australia. So we have customers in all those markets. Does the US make up the majority of our base? Yes, 100%. Like 65, possibly even 70% of our customer base is in the US, which makes sense. Like we are a US based company and all that, but we are starting to see that demand. And you're right, Revolut really seized that opportunity, not just in the UK, but
Oh, sorry. Yeah. So you got to Revolut does see that opportunity.
Okay. Revolut really saw that opportunity and ran with it in the UK and Europe as a whole. Obviously, they're now starting to push into the US. I believe they're getting a banking charter and all that. But Revolut's on Expedia, so they've just taken the Chase Amex playbook really and done that. I think there's a lot of opportunity for them to use a newer, more modern tech provider solution for it. But even with that, they've done a killer job, obviously. So I wouldn't be surprised if there are other major players that are over there, like Monzo or N26, start to do that. And then, of course, there are other major neobank fintechs that are around the world that I think will start to be copying the Revolut playbook because they've done so well with it.
For sure. It's a really good angle for a neobank, right? If I was a neobank in Australia, I'd be going hard after travel because Australians love to travel. We don't need to like do a survey. Like we know that's the truth. And you'd say the same for the UK. And that's why maybe Revolut's had such great cut through there. But it just seems like a great play. And from what you've said, it seems like Hopper's kind of a major competitor, and strangely enough, they were massively B2C in the beginning, and even they couldn't seemingly pull off B2C, and so they pivoted. So that's one competitor, and I know of others. There's one in Israel called VR, and there's a few others that are playing in this space. What's the competitive landscape look like to you?
Yeah, that's a great question. So Hopper definitely posts Capital One buying. They obviously they didn't buy all of Hopper. They just bought the travel portal that is powering Capital One. I think we're all waiting to see how that shapes up. The largest players are Expedia and Booking. The two of them make up 80+%, probably 90+% of the market share. So they're the two behemoths. Hopper's the next largest. Then there's still the legacy player, Arabia, is around. And I think they're quite possibly the smallest now. And then there's Ascenda, who I would say is our largest competitor. So they're based in Singapore. They dominate APAC pretty considerably, and they have decent coverage in Europe and US, Canada here. They're focusing more on that because there are bigger markets. That's generally the ones that we're seeing over here. I assume as we push more internationally, we'll see others like Via, as you mentioned, and what have you. But here in the US, it's River's powering Synchrony. They're pretty much the only bank I know they're powering these days. And so it's pretty much Expedia, Booking, Hopper are like the main ones. And then on the fintech neobank side, that's going to be Ascenda because they are definitely a little bit newer than those legacy players. And to your point on neobanks and fintechs pushing into travel, offering it, as you said, it makes total sense. And we are starting to see that demand really pick up, particularly in the markets that have high travel intent: Australia, UK, Europe, Canada. Canadians travel a lot, Brazil, obviously. And in a lot of those markets, as you're well aware, Canada does too, actually. A lot of them have capped interchange. So it does limit the profitability really on the cards. And so offering travel can help juice that because there's obviously commissions in travel, which is why the big players are doing it. It's so that they can earn additional commissions. They pay out a lot of rewards to users for it, but they're doing it in such a way that they are still making money on it. So the commissions from travel help offset lower interchange on the reward standpoint, which really opens up the world of opportunity. So low interchange markets should, in my opinion, really be thinking this is a thing to add. You can pay out more rewards, and obviously Europe is one example that they have quite low. So it's untapped potential.
All right. Yeah, that's good. I'll just edit that last bit out. I've only got 4 minutes left. I think you've done a really great job of getting a footprint in so many little, or not even little markets like your ANZ and your UAE, etc. And nothing like breaks the dominoes down like a great case study. So I think you can a really great position there, and well done on that. Just to finish off, I'd just love to learn a little bit about the capital raise, what you're going to do with the money, and what your plans are for the future.
Yeah, of course. So we technically closed the round late last year. We only announced it last month, but we've already brought on a bunch of new exciting hires. We have a new head of biz ops and customer success, new head of operations and travel / partnerships. We hired a few senior full stack engineers as well, brought on a person to manage go to market, and also just expanded our back end development team with a few more people as well. So we're up to not quite 30 people, a little under full-time employees. And yeah, we're quite content. So we might be adding some more bodies later this year, but we're pretty happy with where we are now. So we're just building, focusing on growing the partnerships. We're pushing to a few more conferences and ramping up our travel budget a little bit to get in front of the big players and making sure that we're having a presence at the fintech and travel conferences. So that's the main focus.
Perfect. Only got a couple of minutes left, but if people have liked what they have heard from you today, they want to learn more, how can they find you on the internet or elsewhere?
Yeah, you can find us at odynn.com. There's forms that they can fill out for partnerships or for development docs or APIs and what have you. Also, feel free to follow us and connect over LinkedIn. We're the only Odynn, Odynn on LinkedIn. Feel free to connect with me, John Taylor Garner. I'll be the first result on LinkedIn as well, if you search that. And my email is jtgarner@odynn.com. So happy to chat with anyone.
Perfect. Hey, JT, thanks so much for taking some time to have a chat with us today. It's been fascinating to learn about your business. And as I said, I think you're in the perfect spot for a massive trend in travel. And there's a lot of opportunity in the markets out there that are not embracing travel in their financial institutions. So congrats on what you've done and appreciate you spending some time with us today.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. It was a great time. Thank you.
Brilliant, brilliant. That's it for another episode. I hope you've enjoyed this one. If you have, hit subscribe wherever you happen to be listening to it, and you'll get all the episodes as they drop. That's it for today, and we'll see you all for the next one. See you then.
AI, in the travel game we go. Got that AI on the low, taking flights to and fro, booking trips in a snap with a simple chat bot flow. AI, revolutionizing how we roll.